Welcome to today's lesson on timetables and journeys. Our objectives today are to find a time difference between two given times and be able to read a timetable and also be able to use timetables within GCSE style questions. So to be successful today, you need to be confident in using the 12 and 24-hour clock, use different time facts to work out differences, add and subtract numbers properly, find information and create a journey plan. So let's get started. So before we start looking at timetables, we need to make sure that we can find a difference between two times. So what I mean by that are questions like this, where I need to work out the gap of time between two given times. So there's lots of different ways you can do this. And for me, I like to work from the first time to get up to the next hour, and then I like to go from there. But you can do it in any way that you find easy. So to get from 3:30 to the next hour, which is 4 o'clock, I know that that's 30 minutes. And then I'm already at 4 o'clock, so 4 o'clock to get to my time 6 o'clock is 2 hours, so the total time added together is 2 hours and 30 minutes, or 2.5 hours. Question 2, I'm going to get from 12:15 up to 1 o'clock, and I've used the 24-hour clock here, so 1 o'clock is 1300 hours. So that is 45 minutes. Then I'm going to go from 1 o'clock up until 1:40. So 1 o'clock to 1:40 is 40 minutes. I'm going to add those two times in grey together to get 85 minutes. And it's a good idea, if you can, write it into hours and minutes. So I'm sure you already know that there are 60 minutes in an hour. So if I take 60 away from 85, that leaves me with 25 minutes, so I've got 1 hour and 25 minutes left. Why don't you pause the video and have a quick try at this one and see if you get it right. Okay, so we're going to go from 12:35 up to 1 o'clock. That's my first time gap, and that is going to be 25 minutes. Then I'm going to go from 1 o'clock up until 4 o'clock, because I've got to get to 4:10 and 4 o'clock is the nearest available hour. So 1 till 4 is actually 3 hours. So you can go 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock and count it up like that. And then from 4 o'clock to 10 past 4 is 10 minutes. So add those all together. I've got 3 hours and 35 minutes. And there's my question answered. So I'd like you to have a quick try at these questions to work out time differences. So if you're not feeling confident, you can start on the greens, but I think most of you should be able to do yellow and red from this slide. So the more you can do, the better it will be. So pause the video, have a go at all the questions on this slide. Okay, so hopefully you've had time now to have a go at these. These are the answers. I've left the questions at the top for you to double check, and the answers are at the bottom in yellow. So do pause the video and mark your work. Okay, so now we're going to move on to timetables. Now you've got to think about where we might see these in real life and what's the point in looking at them. Well, where you tend to see them are things like bus timetables or train timetables or even a school timetable. You've all got one of those. You might even have a revision timetable or a calendar. A calendar is a timetable, isn't it? It's showing different times. So these are all where we see them, and we use these timetables to help us plan journeys, to go to different places and make sure we're not late for special events. So we're going to start looking at a couple of questions that you might see on an exam paper linked with time. So below is a train timetable showing the journey from Sheffield to London. So we've got Sheffield, then it stops at Chesterfield, then Leicester, then Kettering, and then London. Okay. Now what's important to know here is we've got some shaded parts. Why are these bits shaded? Well, what that means is that the train does not stop there. So on the second train along, it starts at 7:41 and it stops at Chesterfield, then Leicester, but then carries on going to London. It doesn't stop at Kettering. So let's have a look at a question that might be asked about this. How long is the journey from Sheffield to London? So you could use any of these times to help you. So I'm going to look at the start time and the finish time of, I'm going to use the last train. It doesn't actually matter, it should all be the same time. So we're working out the gap between 10:27 where it started and 12:33 at the end. So I'm going to go from 10:27 to 11 o'clock, which is 33 minutes. Then I'm going to go 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock, which is 1 hour. And then I'm going to do 12 o'clock to 12:33, which is another 33 minutes. So altogether I've got 1 hour and 66 minutes. But remember, we want to change it into hours. So we're going to have 2 hours and 6 minutes, because 60 of those minutes is an hour. And there we go, I've answered the question. Let's have a look at another one with the same timetable. April needs to get to a conference in London. She lives in Chesterfield. She needs to be in London by 11 o'clock. Which train should she get? So now you need to look at all the trains that are in the timetable and think, well, if she needs to be in London by 11, which one does she need to be at? So by 11 means it has to be before 11 o'clock, not after 11. So if you look at all the trains arriving in London then, the 10:34 train is the latest one before 11 that she could get. Yes, you could get the 10:05 and 9:09, but you're going to be waiting around for a long time. So she's going to get the 8:39 from Chesterfield. Now you might be like, oh Miss, why have you written the 8:39 from Chesterfield? Because if I look back at the question, it says she lives in Chesterfield. So that is the time she needs to get the train. We've got another addition to this question as well. It takes April 25 minutes to walk to the train station from her house. What time should she leave her house to catch the train? Well, we know that she's getting the 8:39 train from Chesterfield, so we need to think, what is 25 minutes before 8:39? Because that is the latest time she can leave her house to get there ready to catch the train. So you need to go backwards 25 minutes, and that will give you 8:14 as the latest time she should leave her house. And we've got one more question here. Again, you can pause the video at any time and have a go yourself, but if not, watch my explanation and see how you get on. So the question is, Luke gets the 6:47 train from Sheffield. He gets off the train at Leicester. He spends 30 minutes at the Leicester Station Cafe. He then catches the next train to London. What time will he arrive in London? So let's have a little look. So 06:47 train means that we're definitely getting that one there. And it says he gets off at Leicester. So we know we're looking at this section of the journey first. So he's arrived in Leicester at 07:52 and he spends 30 minutes at the cafe. So we're going to add 30 minutes to 7:52 and that takes you to 8:22. Okay, so then it says he catches the next train to London. So we're already at 8:22 of the time. So the next available train he can get is the 8:52 train, this one here. So we're going to get that train from Leicester to London, which means that he will arrive at 10:05. So what I'd like you to do now is attached to show my homework is a worksheet of GCSE questions linked with timetables and journeys. So have a go at doing those now. And then when you're finished, come back to the video and we're going to go through a GCSE question just to see how we got on for today. So our final thing for today that we need to do is look at a GCSE question. And this question was on a paper a couple of years ago and it was worth 3 marks. So pause the video, read through it and have a go yourself, and then we'll go through the answers in a moment. Okay, so with this question, the easiest thing to do is to kind of work backwards and figure out which train she needs to get at what time. So the first thing is think, well, she's going to Luton Airport. She needs to arrive between 10 and 11. So we're looking at all of these possible trains, and the only time that arrives between 10 and 11 is the 10:34 train. So we can put that into the answer box straight away, and that's probably going to get you a mark. Now, another thing we need to remember is this shaded bit here. We know that means the train is not stopping there. So because the Sheffield train's not stopping at Kettering, she can't get the train from Kettering to the airport, which means that she has to stop at Leicester and get the train from Leicester to the airport. So we know that she's leaving Leicester at 9:33, and we can complete that on there. Now we're going to go backwards again. So if she's departing from Leicester, she has to arrive at Leicester to get there. And we're going to therefore look at which train she could potentially get from Leicester. And if we look at the times, the next available train that she can get is the 9:23. And then she's obviously go back another step. You can see that she has to get the train from 8:27 from Sheffield to get on that journey. And then if you work forwards from your question now, you'll check it all makes sense. She starts Sheffield at 8:27 and gets to Leicester at 9:23. Then she goes from Leicester at 9:33 and gets to Luton Airport at 10:34. So that would get you 3 marks in your exam. Hope you found today useful and helpful, and I'll see you again for another lesson. Bye.